Tonight, something big has just happened. We're talking about a moment that could very well reshape global power as we know it. On February 3rd, 2026, the United States didn't just pass another defense budget. No, it signed off on a project of almost unimaginable scale, one that fundamentally rewrites America's role in the world. So let's get right into it. Just look at that number, $838.5 billion. That's the top-line figure for the fiscal year 2026 Defense Appropriations Act. It's a staggering amount of money for sure. But what's truly historic here, what really matters, isn't just the number itself. It's where that money is going and what it signals about the future of American power.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the radical shift in strategy. Then we'll explain the massive new defense project at the very heart of it all. After that, we'll explore America's new doctrine on the world stage, analyze the colossal risks involved, and believe me, there are risks. And finally, we'll talk about what this new American reality really means for everyone.
And we really do mean a radical shift. This isn't just a course correction. For the first time in nearly 100 years, the United States is officially pivoting. It's stepping away from that post-World War II role of being the world's policeman and turning its focus, its money, and its power inward.
So here's how it went down. The act passed the Senate pretty easily, with strong bipartisan support. But the House, well, that was a different story. It just scraped by, with only a 3-vote margin. And the new National Defense Strategy it funds, it spells it out in black and white. The new #1 priority is the defense of the U.S. homeland. The Center for Strategic and International Studies, or CSIS, put it perfectly, calling it exactly what it is, a radical shift. So the big question is, how exactly does America plan to defend the homeland? Well, at the very core of this new strategy is a project called the Golden Dome. And it is so ambitious, so massive in scope, that people are already calling it a modern-day Manhattan Project. So what is the Golden Dome? You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around it is to picture Israel's famous Iron Dome system. Got it? Okay, now multiply its scale and complexity by about 1,000. Seriously, this isn't about stopping a few small rockets. We're talking about a multi-layered shield designed to protect the entire North American continent from the most advanced threats you can imagine.
Now, this system is actually a system of systems. Think of it in 3 distinct layers. First, you have a high-altitude layer. This uses interceptors based in space to take out threats before they even enter the atmosphere. Second, there's a theater layer using proven systems we've heard of, like THAAD and Patriot PAC-3, for anything that gets closer. And third, and this is maybe the most important part, you have the space layer, a whole constellation of satellites that basically act as the eyes for the entire shield. And this new budget puts some serious money behind this vision. And remember, what you're seeing here is just the initial down payment to get the whole architecture started. You can see over $2 billion just for the theater layer to ramp up missile production. And look at that, nearly $4 billion for the space layer. That's the eye in the sky that makes the whole thing actually work. But here's the real game changer. The true innovation here isn't just the missiles, the hardware, it's the software. The Golden Dome is going to rely on an AI-driven battle management system to track thousands of objects and make life or death decisions in a split second. And this really shows us a powerful new alliance. You've got the old guard, the legacy defense contractors, building the hardware, while the new architects from Silicon Valley, firms like SpaceX and Palantir, are building the AI brain. Okay, so why? Why this massive, incredibly expensive project? Well, it all comes down to America's new doctrine. It's completely redefining that old idea of peace through strength for the 21st century. This quote, this single line from the new strategy document, sent absolute shockwaves through Brussels and other allied capitals. I mean, the message could not be clearer. The US is officially stepping back from its role as the primary defender of Europe. Billions of dollars that were previously set aside for European defense have now been redirected to fund the Golden Dome.
The whole playbook for dealing with adversaries like China has also shifted. It's no longer about global containment, about playing chess on a world map. Instead, the US is adopting a strategy called deterrence by denial. And the logic is actually pretty simple. If you can make it physically impossible for an adversary to successfully attack your homeland, well, they won't even try. It's all about building an absolutely impenetrable fortress. But, and this is a huge but, is a perfect shield even possible? And that question right there leads us to the immense risks of what a lot of people are calling a $500 billion gamble. So the first and most obvious risk is just the mind-boggling cost. That $13.4 billion we saw in the 2026 budget, that's just a down payment.
It's the tip of the iceberg. Analysts are estimating that the total 10-year cost of this project could soar past $500 billion. That is a staggering financial commitment.
And it's not just the cost. Beyond the money, there are 4 key strategic risks that critics are pointing to. First, there's a worry about a Maginot Line effect, right? Where we're so focused on these high-tech missiles that we leave ourselves wide open to simpler, low-tech threats. Then you have the terrifying math of an imperfect shield. Third, a lot of people fear this basically tears up arms control treaties and will kick off a brand new, destabilizing arms race. And finally, it completely militarizes space, turning it from a global commons into a potential battlefield. Let's just pause on that second point for a second, because this is important. Experts think that even in a best-case scenario, a system this complex might achieve a 95% success rate against a massive, coordinated attack of, let's say, 500 missiles. Now, 95% sounds pretty good, right? But a 95% success rate still means 25 nuclear warheads could get through and detonate on American soil. So you have to ask, is that a risk worth a $500 billion price tag? And all of this leads us to our final section, the new American reality. Because this budget, it's so much more than just a spending document. You could argue it's basically a declaration of independence, an independence from the global security order that America itself built over the last 80 years. When you boil it all down, the Golden Dome represents a fundamental choice. A decision has been made to turn away from decades of foreign intervention, of global leadership, and instead to channel the nation's immense resources into one goal: creating a fortified continent. The implications of that choice, well, they're going to be felt for generations. And so, we're left with this central question. The $500 billion question, really. Does this incredibly ambitious, unbelievably expensive, and technologically unprecedented shield actually bring in a new era of American security? Or does this attempt to build Fortress America inadvertently trigger the most dangerous and costly arms race the world has ever seen? Only time is going to tell.